How's it going, everyone? We are here today to talk about some DraftKings quarterbacks, I believe. Yes, DraftKings quarterbacks for week 6. Now, I know all you wanted to slot Sam Bradford into your cash games, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that this week. He's on a bye. But we do have some other good options for you. How's it going, Jason?
Good. You ready for another Big Ben week?
I think that's what we're looking at here, folks. 7,500 at the Dolphins. Dolphins picked up a corner that was cut last week. Ben Wickery, or however you say his last name. Kind of sounds like, some type of thing you do with wood, but I don't know. That's all you're getting.
Is that my lead-in?
Yeah.
That's okay. Well done. But Big Ben, 7,500. He's expensive. He's up there in price. I mean, whether you want to pay up for a quarterback or not, that's your call. There's value options, but I still think he's viable this week. On the road, I know people are obviously going to look and go, oh, Big Ben away from home. Obviously there's a slight downgrade. Against this Dolphins team, I'm not really that worried. They're allowing 20.1 DK points per game to quarterbacks this year. Highest team total on the board. Dude has 9 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell back helps him out a ton. Not that D'Angelo Williams was bad, but they're lining up Le'Veon Bell in the slot. They're doing all kinds of different things with him. And he's got Sammy Coates, who can just fly down for a 70-yard bomb whenever he wants. They're going to torch the Dolphins. It's not even going to be fair.
So I just, normally, I don't just root for a team unless it's the Rams, which means I'm usually not rooting for them by week 5. I want Martavis Bryant to come back so bad and I just want 5 games with Martavis and Sammy Coates on the outside, Antonio Brown, doing all his stuff, and then Le'Veon Bell and Jesse James. That would just be something else.
You know what, kids? And that's a life lesson. Marijuana has ruined the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they could have been.
It's really true, sadly. But I mean, as far as Roethlisberger goes, he has his deep threat in Sammy Coates now. I think that's apparent. He has Antonio Brown, who's going to roast the secondary. What are you thinking for stacks with Roethlisberger? Are you looking to go with Bell? Because it looks like he's going to be in a big part of the receiving game this year. Jesse James, Coates, Brown. What's your favorites to stack with Roethlisberger?
Obviously, Brown and Bell are the preferred. I still think Coates is a viable option. I think Coates, for the value that he brings, just like last week, is going to be there. I think that's the move to make. Obviously, Jesse James is intriguing because you use him at the tight end. He's out there for a ton of snaps. It's just a matter of his target percentage on a week-to-week basis, which is kind of varies, but it's an expensive one. I think this week, it's only Tuesday. I'm kind of waiting to see what opens up. If there's some injury to some running backs that opens things up, you can get the Steelers stack in there. I still think a Steelers stack is going to be the most viable option, but I think Brown's going to be the one I go with.
Certainly. And last question, Eli Rogers, if he's not playing, or Marcus Wheaton?
If he's not playing? Wait,
Yeah.
What? Do I choose a benched Eli Rogers?
Who would you rather start? Eli Rogers if he's not playing, or Marcus Wheaton?
Eli Rogers if he's not playing. I can't start Marcus Wheaton.
Gotcha. Drew Brees against the Panthers. Panthers have the perception of being, this really good defense, but it appears that secondary might be an issue. Saints at home. We all know the home road splits of Drew Brees. I think this offense could get it moving this week. What do you think?
Yeah, back at home, I mean, this Carolina defense, not good. And you look at Drew Brees, I mean, at home, you know what you're going to get from him. I mean, so far through this year, averaging nearly 33 DK points per game. He's going to throw over 40 times he has each game. Carolina, I mean, we saw it obviously against Atlanta just be thrashed through the air. Julio Jones had his big game, but allowing 12.4 yards per completion, that's not good. That's awful by a Carolina defense that, we were expecting to be a little bit, obviously take a step back, but should be better than this. So I'm looking for Drew Brees at home to really go and take it to him. And I think, I do think he's viable in GPPs as well because I'm not quite sure who's going to pay up for him for 400 more than Big Ben and some other guys. So I think a Saints stack is also worthy of a GPP look, just because you can use Fleener, Cooks, Snead, even a Michael Thomas.
So I think Brandon Cooks is super sneaky. He actually did pretty well against Carolina last year when they had Josh Norman. They didn't really shadow him either way. Had a few down weeks, had the bye. I think you're going to get some low ownership on Cooks. I think that Brees Cook stack is very interesting at the very least.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a big fan of
it. Russell Wilson, let's get into some GPP quarterbacks. Russell Wilson at 6,900 against the Falcons. Boy, oh boy, this Falcons offense is something else. Too many guys to concentrate on, honestly, to really slow them down. So, I mean, based on that, kind of think this game could be a little higher paced than, in past years.
That's what I'm looking at. I mean, we saw last week, Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman both had a solid game at Denver. You still have Julio Jones there. I do think, this one could kind of turn into a back and forth affair. And obviously, we're not worried about the Atlanta defense. Allowing 25 DK points per game, 34.2% DVOA per Football Outsiders. The one thing I like about Wilson, below 7K, there's a ton of upside here. Atlanta is allowing over 100 passer rating. And I just think, you compare him and Baldwin, obviously, but him and Graham, who obviously Atlanta struggles against tight ends, for 11,800. And that's a pretty good duo for a cheaper price than obviously Brown and Big Ben, obviously Brees and Cook. So it's kind of a cheap stack that I'm looking to use. I think the ownership is still going to be quite average, but I think a lot of points per dollar value here.
Yeah, I love that call. I think you can mix in a lot of exposure to the other guys we've mentioned so far and really get a good value on Wilson. I like that call a lot. The other guy you got here, Mariota, 800 cheaper than Wilson against the Browns. Intriguing to say the least.
6,100. It's cheap. Obviously, you might want to gravitate towards a cheaper quarterback. I can never get behind Mariota in cash games, but 25.75 team total there. You look at this defense; they rank 21st per Football Outsiders against the pass, allowing 23.2 DK points per game. There is some rushing upside with Mariota, as we saw last week. Looked pretty well. We saw Matthews kind of come out and play a little bit better. Delaney Walker is still not up to his kind of usual snaps, but with him and DeMarco Murray kind of being dump-off options, I kind of like Mariota here. Obviously, 6,100, it's not really expensive. You can still get exposure to the other passing games through their wideouts. So he's kind of quite the value, and as we saw last week and last year, we know that 30-point upside's there.
Yeah, certainly agree with that. I think he's intriguing at the very least, just super volatile. That offense, he just doesn't have a lot of receiving weapons. But, we saw last week, if he gets moving on the ground, teams are going to be scrambling, to figure out how to guard this team because that run game is really strong. So for value, we don't disagree often, but, the Brian Hoyer versus Alex Smith debate is going to go down in the annals of history as one of the most important things that ever happened in the world. So give us your takes.
Well, I get that you like your Alex Smith appeal against, Oakland. Hoyer, 5,800. This is going to be the Brian Hoyer value section until that price goes up or until Jay Cutler maybe comes back and takes his job back, but who knows if that happens. Hoyer, three straight games, 2 touchdowns and 300 yards. You look at his pass attempts in those 3 starts, 43, 36, and 49 against this Jaguars offense that they're going to be throwing the ball. Possibility for a little bit of a shootout here. You also got some cheap stacks that you can go with. You can use Meredith. You can use Miller. If you want to have the belief that Alshon Jeffrey comes back and gets 10-plus targets and goes off for his first big game of the year, you can do that. PFF has him ranked as the 6th highest quarterback in terms of their grading, and I think he's looked pretty good. He's been super efficient. Still, obviously he's played some good or some bad secondaries, but not a good one here. And I think you can fire away still for under 6K.
No, I agree. I think he's certainly in play. ever since he stepped in, he looked more in control than Cutler ever was of that offense. So I like him. I just think Alex Smith has a little more upside, but in terms of that, I mean, based on what Hoyer's done, maybe I'm wrong. Like that's my belief, but based on how the season's gone so far, I mean, I guess Hoyer is, a beast once again. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Hoyer has you pretty frazzled right now. I can understand that. You want to be behind Alex Smith. It's like you got Hoyer and Alex Smith fighting each other, and you're like, I don't know, man. Hoyer could beat up Alex Smith. I don't
It
know.
really is like that. And like Alex Smith is my friend, but I'm like, you're like a neutral party. And I'm like, yeah, man, like Alex Smith's my friend, but
No, like
geez.
I saw Alex Smith yesterday at my house, and he could barely lift a gallon of milk.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know.
dude. No, I think what intrigues me more than Alex Smith is his passing options, obviously more appealing than what Hoyer has. Better matchup, but Hoyer's been dealing. Can't deny that. That's for sure. So I think you can get exposure to both offenses surprisingly and feel okay about it. Any other thoughts before we head out here?
No, I think this is a week where I really do think you want to wait until till Saturday until we get some injury news. There could be some cheap running backs opening up. I know you want to kind of hold off and wait because that could force your hand to pay up at quarterback or to pay down. Because much like last week, I mean, we talked about using Hoyer and getting your exposure through the wide receivers, which I do enjoy doing. I think it's a viable option in cash and GPP. So if there's value backs, go ahead and pay up. If there's not, you might want to be looking at guys like Wilson, Mariota, Hoyer, Smith, and kind of getting exposure still through guys like Antonio Brown.
Certainly agree. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing on the channel, give us a like and subscribe. If you want to check out this article and sort of read a deeper dive into this stuff, it's going to be posted on the site. So certainly check that out as well. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in week 7.